Hey guys, I'm on here for story time number 3, and I believe we left off with reading my diary. I kind of rewatched it, but I don't really remember, so forgive me if I repeat myself. I did also reread that same journal today, just to refresh myself with everything that happened when I first got into all of this. By the way, if you want to hear the story about what it was like entering a witch shop for the first time and everything that I saw there, like maybe you guys have never been to one or something, leave a comment below and I will put that in the next video because I realized I didn't really go too into detail about that. So let me know. As for today, I was rereading my journal and I realized that I should talk to you about this. And it's a little bit of a tough subject, not just for me, but for a lot of people, especially if you're someone who believes in setting intentions and manifestations and magic like I am. I first started off wanting to become an author. That was who I was. That's what I mentioned earlier. And when I first got into all of this, all of my spells, all of my readings, all of my intention settings, all of my questions were about when will I get an agent? When will I get published? Is writing my true path? Now, the fact that I was questioning if writing was my true path should have been the first sign that it wasn't that simple. But it's like when you're a little kid and you're introduced to something, you think more of the present and what you're meant to be doing in that moment, or like you don't, like when you're a little kid and you're like, I really wish that I could drive a car, or like for me, from a really young age, I was a huge romantic and I wanted to date somebody as soon as possible. I remember in middle school, like, oh my god, I want a boyfriend, and my mom was like, pump the brakes. Which makes sense, obviously, but like when you're 12 or 13 and your hormones are kicking in, you're like, I want a boyfriend. Anyway, it's like that. So when I first got into magic, I was like, I want to become a famous author and be published and have an agent, and like, because when you're told that you can have whatever you ask for, you ask for things that you want or that you think you want. And that's what I ended on the last one, was what you think you want. So what I thought I wanted was to be the next V.E. Schwab or J.K. Rowling or that kind of thing. And I was reading my tarot-ish witchy journal, and I had been working a lot with runes, especially in October, because that's when I got them, was after my trip to Salem, which I will also bounce back to and talk about, maybe even in this one. In Salem, I went to the shop, bought some runes. I quickly acclimated to them, and they gave me a lot of amazing insight. And like looking back, I'm like cracking up because I'm like, I was so narrow-minded, I was so narrow-focused on writing that I purposely missed all of their warnings and insights of, this isn't going to be your path. Rethink it. And I even wrote that. Like, I wrote it several times. I put, like, realign with your true desire. And I even, with my tarot deck, I got the Six of Cups a lot, which is all about your past and things you used to love as a child and nostalgia, and I kept getting it over and over again, and the message I kept hearing was, go back to who you were in the past, which was weird because to me, I always thought, well, I was a writer, so like, what are you talking about? Like, there's literally a picture of me at, I think, like 3 years old on a front porch step pretending to scribble a story in a notebook. That's how long I've been a writer. And it's not to say I'm not anymore or that I'm not pursuing to be a writer. It's kind of hard to explain. But because I was so closed minded on, I want to do this and this is all I can be, I was blocking myself from all of these other qualities and attributes. And I kept saying that's all I have going for me. That's what I would always say. Like, this is my only skill. This is my only talent. This is all I've ever been good at. Which on the surface level could seem true because the only competitions I'd ever won were writing competitions. The only awards I got in school were for English class. The only recognition I'd ever get on, oh, Morgan's good at blah, 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 was, oh, she's a fantastic writer. Or she's well spoken, or, very Gemini qualities. And my Virgo midheaven shining. But that wasn't all that I was. And I remember talking about this with my mom too, like a lot, because I was trying to figure out like what else I could do outside of writing. And so she and I would have long talks about it. And I would always ask her like, okay, well, like what else have you known me to be good at? It was funny because we were actually talking about that recently too. But I remember having conversations about this since a long time ago, and I'd say, what else was I good at? Like, what else can I use? And I just remember her saying, like, you've always been like a comforting presence to people. I remember her saying that one time, more than one time. And you, like, are good with people. And I was like, well, that's not helpful. Because in my head, I was like, how do I turn that into a profitable skill? And I realize now, as someone who's an empath and someone who's a healer and someone who's a tarot reader and an astrologer and like all of this, my hair is a total mess. Quarantine life, man. I was limiting myself. I was limiting myself to the surface level skills and traditional ideas of success. And it's not that writing isn't a skill of mine. It's not that writing isn't a talent of mine. It's that I wasn't also all the other things that I am. And so my runes and my tarot kept telling me this over and over and over. I did finally take the hint. I believe like that. While this was happening, while I was waiting on these agents from this competition to respond to me and getting rejection after rejection, which all had the exact same wording, by the way, hello universe, I was starting to rethink writing. I was also getting burnt out. I had been pursuing writing for a long time, and in a serious fashion with like trying to get an agent. I don't know, at least 6 or 7 years. And I was just fried. I wanted a break. And so I took a break And then that break turned into, I don't think I'm going to write anymore. I think I'm just going to write for myself in a diary or something for my own good, but I don't think I'll write a story ever again. Spoiler alert, that's not true. But I quit for a second. I released it, I let go of it. And you know what's magical about letting go of something is that it doesn't mean it's never going to come back. And it doesn't mean that it was the wrong thing to have in the first place. And I learned that the hard way, but also in a beautiful way, because when I quit, I found myself again. Instead of saying I'm a writer, I would say I'm Morgan, and I'm learning who I am. And I learned new music that I liked just because I liked it, not because it would help me write a new plot line. I learned what hobbies that I could have. I really got into all of this, like witchcraft, but especially astrology, herbs, and just like things like that, like oils. There's a lot of like lots of witchy stuff. I really got into like divination. Wow, I sound like a Hogwarts student. That's basically what witchcraft is, honestly. You just take each of the classes from Harry Potter. I guess COVID could be Voldemort. Slay the disease that shall not be named. But yeah, so that was a long-winded way of saying sometimes you think you want something, but it's only the surface level of what you truly desire. I thought I wanted to be a best-selling author, but really what I want is to weave the worlds that are in my head in a way that I can share them with others so that they can have the same healing and exploratory experience that I do when creating it, and help them feel not alone in the way that stories have done so for me. And once I figured that out, I realized story doesn't always have to be a novel, and other people would understand that, but I needed it cracked into my thick skull. And so now I'm pursuing different ways of telling stories and sharing stories, and I'm still a creative, I'm still a storyteller, and I'm still a writer, but I was limiting how I could be that way and who the Morgan was when I'm so much more than just one title. And so are all of you. And if you find that your dream changes, that doesn't mean that you failed. That meant you discovered something that you were always meant to discover. And to me, that's success. So it was just interesting because I just kept coming across it over and over again. My runes, my tarot, all of them. Rethink, realign. What do you want to do? What I want to do is share and heal and create. So I hope you all are happy and healthy, and I'll see you on the next story time.